Welcome to 32 and 32, where we count down.
Anyway, that's beside the point. At the end of the day, it's a business.
If you're the Rams, you are officially coming off the absolute worst performance in the Super Bowl ever. I think Robert Kraft is peas in someone else's pod.
I mean, y'all Super Bowl wins are so old. I mean, the rings are probably to dust right now. So,
not about the Eagles today. We're talking about the Bears.
Yeah. So, as usual, let's take a look first at their free agent signings. Thanks for watching, folks. That is today's analysis of the Minnesota Vikings. Welcome to 32 and 32, where we break down one team every day for 32 straight days, all leading up to the season kickoff on Thursday Night Football. Today's team is the Minnesota Vikings.
The Kings of the North.
Which, quite honestly, I kind of feel like the Vikings are starting to turn into that ageless team of wonder because they're so loaded. They
are, and I was actually very surprised at how they performed last season, and they performed way below expectations. And when they signed Kirk Cousins, I was like, I mean, if this Vikings team was deadly with Case Keenum under center, just imagine how vicious they would be having a guy like Kirk Cousins at quarterback, who's a lot more seasoned. And, I was very disappointed in them last season. Let's just say that.
So when they signed Kirk Cousins, it was just like, okay, he's an improvement at quarterback over Case Keenum statistically.
Right.
But he's also a drop-off statistically because, obviously Collins Cowherd likes to go to this. His record against good teams is not the best. Which
that's actually, saying it very loosely, considering how he does against, above 500 teams and, teams that are pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's until he starts having wins over those quality teams, it's hard to sit here and say, okay, Minnesota's going to do well this year, which they very well may have an excellent season, but are they going to get wins when it matters? I don't know. I really can't say.
I mean, well, all right, I'm going to go back to Kirk Cousins. Like when Kirk Cousins was in Washington, he showed, a lot of poise, a lot of potential, and he was making a case that he was definitely for real, but I was still very skeptical about him, but I do know of his worth and I do know of his talent, and I was like, he's going to Minnesota. He has a lot of more weapons, having guys like Stephon Diggs and, Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph and Dalvin Cook, and I'm just sitting here like, Kirk Cousins is really about to blow up, man. He's really about to show the league and show all the critics that he is for real, that he's that man. But he did everything but that.
Yeah, I think the worst thing for Minnesota Vikings fans is the fact knowing that Kirk Cousins' entire contract is fully guaranteed.
So, if they buy him out and want to release him, that's a lot of money they come out of. So that would actually just be a bad investment as far as against their salary cap. So, Vikings were not overly active in free agency this season, picking up a guard in Josh Klein. Maybe they should have tried to see if his cousin Calvin was available. And Shamar Stefan, defensive tackle, which I don't think they really needed that much. Because they already have a loaded defense. My problem is this Vikings team is just, they're so stacked and they're so loaded. They have a potential to be a Super Bowl winning team.
They really do.
It's just it just frustrates me sometimes because this Vikings team has so much potential. And I really think it's probably the coaching staff, because I feel that, the front office, their brass, they've done their part. giving the Vikings the weapons that they need and being able to try and maintain and trying to evolve their weapons on their team. But I really think it's with the coaching staff.
What area of the coaching staff? Because you have to look at. I mean, Zimmer's done better than Childress.
Most definitely. I mean, Childress. I mean, there are parts where Childress did pretty well, but then again, I mean, he had Brett Favre,
which he had one really good season with Brett Favre,
and that was the year that the Saints went to the Super Bowl.
Anywho. So they weren't very active in free agency, which is understandable because they're a pretty loaded team, even though they did lose Latavius Murray to New Orleans as well as the Saints, as well as Easton. Was it Easton?
I thought didn't Easton come from? I thought Easton came from Seattle. Did he?
I don't know. But they were supremely active in the draft as they had a lot of draft.
God.
Yeah, I think 14, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 draft picks. So I was right. I think they matched New England for most draft picks in this year's draft.
Well, one draft pick I'm looking at is Irv Smith Jr. and at tight end. And like the cool thing is Irv Smith's dad, Irv Smith Sr., actually played tight end in the league as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I got a lot of hope for Irv Smith. I mean, coming out of Alabama and, taken under the wing by a guy like Kyle Rudolph.
Okay.
But, I mean, though they're pretty loaded, I mean, it seems that Minnesota is preparing for the future and that they are trying to add some youth to their team.
So how much longer do you think that Kyle Rudolph is going to be there? Because Rudolph kind of had a standoff with Rudolph had a standoff with the front eye.
Rudolph had a standoff with the other reindeer about his red shiny nose.
So he kind of had a standoff with the front office this year over his contract and money. So I mean, surprise player arguing over money.
Look, a shiny red nose is not going to get you paid, Rudolph. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
Should it be Rudolph the red-nosed tight end?
I guess Rudolph the red-nosed tight end. Has some really, really good hands. He also adds to run blocking. Just pay the freaking man.
Wow, okay.
But y'all want to get another tight end.
So you were saying about Mr. Irv. What were you saying there? Just so perhaps, hopefully, we can get back on track and not sing about Santa Claus, please.
I wasn't singing about Santa Claus. I was singing about
Rudolph
the red-nosed tight end.
It is July, but we do not have Christmas in July, at least not yet. You were saying something about Mr. Irv Smith, sir. Proceed.
Yes, I was saying something about Irv Smith. Until you brought up about Kyle Rudolph and how long he's going to be there. I mean, Kyle Rudolph, let's just be honest, he is kind of aging a little bit. And you were right, Nick Eason did go to Minnesota.
Yeah, he came from Minnesota. So that makes perfect sense of their first overall pick, Garrett Bradbury, center. So
I mean, somebody to replace him.
I was right about that.
I mean, they were kind of active. I mean, getting offensive line. They got Garrett Bradbury. They ended up getting Marcus. They ended up getting Oli Udo, who is also a tackle. Getting Irv Smith to add a presence as far as in the passing game and in the run game as well with his run blocking.
So, what do you think of them actually drafting a long snapper?
I've never heard of a team actually drafting a long snapper.
Unless it's linebacker. Maybe that may be a typo on my half, but I don't think so.
I would never see a team drafting a long snapper. I mean, a long snapper could be like an undrafted free agent, but not a draft pick. Unless it's like maybe 7th round. And
that was definitely 7th round. Was that a typo on my behalf? That just now I got questions.
I sometimes be having questions about you as well.
I question myself a lot. So
are you okay?
I don't know. That is a really good question.
Wow, y'all. He is a long snapper.
Out of Air Force.
Wait, and I think he was actually the final pick of the draft. Wait,
no, it's 252. That would be Mr. Irrelevant. So
it's 252. I thought it was 250 picks.
So he's 2 picks shy of being Mr. Irrelevant, and they go with a long snapper out of Air Force. That's interesting.
I bet Cunning's family was just ecstatic. And I'm just like, you got drafted, but you still got to hold up your end of the contract with the military unless they release you.
So you're saying that was a waste of a draft pick? What do you
Possibly.
Think? What do you think? You think Minnesota just looked like, who the hell we draft now? We already have 11 guys. Like, good grief, we're gonna cut half of them anyway.
That's just cruel. That's just.
I mean, that's a testament how loaded they are.
Well, that's true, but I mean,
it's one of the reasons why people probably
or I mean, Cutting can be like Keenan Reynolds. I mean, who went to Navy. I mean, he in the military gave him a conditional release.
You're a seventh round pick who's a long snapper.
I mean, he can make he's a long snapper. All he gotta do is have those sharp spiral snaps.
Yeah, all you have to do is like toss balls between your legs. Thanks for watching, folks. That is today's analysis of the Minnesota Vikings. Thank you. Join us next time as we break down the New England Patriots. Woohoo!